Ladies and gentlemen, we are live right from the Kingdoms podcast. I bring to you a very, very important guest. He is a UFC contender with a professional with a professional record of 23 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. Introducing Damon Action Jackson. How are you today, my brother? I'm good. I'm good. In London, England. Where are you speaking to us from?
What was the last part? It was I
Uh,
couldn't the
uh,
last part
uh,
of it.
I said I'm, speaking to you from London, England. Where exactly are you
Yeah.
speaking to us from?
Oh, I'm from Dallas, Texas. So I've been here for like last 13 years, but I've been all over the US. But yeah,
Oh wow! But then now you are in Dallas, Texas. How's the weather like in Dallas? I hear it's quite
it's
warm
hot,
out
man.
there.
It's hot. Yeah,
Hot.
it's like 108 today.
Whoa, 108 Fahrenheit. I wonder what that
Yeah.
is in Celsius. Then it seems like quite
It's hot. It's hot.
hot. Oh wow, interesting, interesting. Of course, before we hit the record button, I was talking about how you share the same birthday with my dad. 8th of August. It's a date that is really really important to me, and having you share the same date. You're Leo, right? It makes you feel
Yeah.
important to me. August 8th. It seems like 8 should be a lucky number. August 8th at
Yeah.
1988.
It was
Wow,
my for like when I played baseball and played other sports, it was always my number.
the number 8 or
8. Yeah.
88. Oh
Yeah, 8 or
wow.
88. Yeah.
Oh wow. So what does eight stand for? Like what's the symbol for eight? What does it symbolize?
Um, I mean, some like it's ocho is like that's one thing, and then like 8 is infinity because it's like a nonstop.
Oh
It's infinity.
yes.
So
Yes.
I mean,
Interesting.
there's some things with
Understand.
it. I just like it. My birthday's 8/8/88.
Oh wow, interesting. Speaking of going
Yeah.
back to 88, the first question I like to ask guests on the show is about that childhood. What was your childhood like?
Mine was pretty chill. I played a lot of baseball. I grew up playing baseball. That's why I thought I was gonna go to college for baseball, and then I ended up,
Oh,
loving wrestling. So, I went all in on wrestling, and that's kind of what sent me off to college. But, yeah, my childhood was pretty good, man. I had my brother and my sisters, and then like, just had basic childhood with friends playing baseball, fishing, hunting a lot. So, just basic stuff. Pretty good childhood though.
Oh, interesting. You touched a bit on your background in wrestling, and the next question I was going to ask is about your journey to the UFC. A lot of
Yeah,
UFC fighters have their base, in wrestling. Look at the likes of John Jones, Daniel Cormier. You know,
yeah,
even the Russian guys now is still wrestling and combat sambo that brought them into MMA, right? I'd
yeah,
like to put you on the spot, right? For me, I believe that the top three disciplines, right, to excel in mixed martial arts are number one, wrestling, number two, jiu-jitsu, and number three, Muay Thai, kickboxing. So,
yeah,
for you, what are the top three disciplines?
yeah. I'd say wrestling and then kickboxing. It's kind of right there with it because like if you have defensive wrestling and kickboxing, you can be really good. But jiu-jitsu, almost every fight's going to go to the ground at some point. So I'd say the wrestling, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu, like that combination of things is kind of what I would say is the most important.
Oh wow! So it means we agree. We belong to the same school of thought. For the top three martial arts backgrounds.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us, about your journey into the UFC from wrestling?
Uh, yeah, I started wrestling in seventh grade just because of the UFC, because I was a big like Matt Hughes, Frankie Edgar, like GSP. I loved watching those guys fight. So
Wow,
they all had,
that
they
era
all
is
had,
golden.
yeah, they all had wrestling background, or they're all good wrestlers. So I figured that was like a good martial art to start with. So I started wrestling, and then I started doing a little bit of taekwondo, and yeah, so I just started literally started wrestling because of the UFC.
Oh wow, interesting. So like you saw the end from the beginning. You know, a lot of people just do the wrestling because oh they're in school, they want to get wrestling scholarships, right?
Yeah,
Then you knew that your pathway was to go into the UFC, and you know wrestling is a great background.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
Wow, that's really fantastic. But then, what do you think
yeah.
brought you into martial arts as a whole? Like, why
Um,
wrestling? You touched on
I
baseball.
love it because it's like the ultimate competition. It's like you know, wrestling's a very personal sport, and I feel like it's like that one-on-one competition where, you know, like it's all on you. So if you lose, it's because you did something wrong. It's not because your teammate was being lazy. You know, it's because you were lazy in the gym or you didn't push it hard or whatever it was. So, I just like it because it's more individual and it's you know just it's the hardest like the toughest competition you can do.
Hmm, interesting. Toughest competition. Speaking of toughest competition, you reminded me of the Olympics. You know, just completed Olympics. Did you follow any of the athletes at the Olympics? Did you watch any of the
Man,
games
I
in the
I
wrestling?
haven't watched a lot. I kept up with. I saw a little bit of gymnastics, just because I had a really good friend and client that she was a gymnast at Cal Berkeley. So I like to watch the gymnastics, and then you know like there's a handful of things I might you know put on TV when it's on, but I haven't really watched everything. You know.
Okay, interesting. So, going back to your wrestling, you know, your martial arts background, like who were your biggest influences growing up, and who were your role models, and you know, those people who had some sort of impact and inspiration to your career.
Yeah, I'd say Frankie Edgar. I was really obsessed with watching his style for a long time. Frankie Edgar and GSP, when they were in their prime, they were you know some of the best guys and you know just real tough guys too. So I liked watching them. And then Matt Hughes, I really enjoyed watching his fights too.
Okay, so how about right now in the current era of the UFC? Who are those guys at the top? Who are those like the current champions that you admire?
Um, I like Alex Pereira, and I like I'm starting to like Sean O'Malley. I wasn't always a big fan of his, but I'm starting to like him. He's starting to like really put together some big wins. So, um, you know, and then you know, I'd like to see Robert Whitaker get back in that mix of you know fighting for the title. So,
Yeah.
I'm not a big Izzy fan right now. Like I was for a
Wow,
while, but
why? Why? That's my
yeah.
boy.
Yeah, I see. I do like him a lot, man. But it just things got kind of weird with him and Du Plessis, and I just like I hope that I hope they get a win and they squash all the beef, and then he goes back to being like normal. Cause I always liked him, and he just kind of he kind of like spazzed out, and he got a little weird with all of his trash talk. So, you know, but I do like his style, man. He's so talented and just
Highly,
such a
highly
tough guy.
talented.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. You know, I'm Nigerian. Easy's Nigerian, so like
Yeah,
he's from where I come from. So I very much
yeah,
identify with him.
for
You know,
sure.
himself, Kamaru Usman. You know, they are like
I
big
love Usman,
inspirations
man.
to you know. Yeah,
I'm a big Kamar Usman fan. Like I always have been. You know, he came up at, like around the same time I did. And you know, it was really cool watching him succeed because he's always such a good wrestler. And you know, he did some great things. So I'm a big Kamar fan for sure.
fantastic. So, speaking of Easy, right? Easy's fight is tomorrow night. One will sleep, and then we'll have it. For me, I have my predictions. You know, some people call me the president Israel Adesanya Fans Association. So because I, you know, strongly identify with him and his journey. You know, something interesting. Easy is from where my father is from, and Usman is from where my mom is from.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So like the two warrior clans, right, are
Yeah.
representing me in the UFC. So I would always support, you know, Easy. But on that main card, I think we have about five fights on the main card. Do you have any predictions? Easy Du Plessis, who do you see winning?
Oh, I think Izzy wins for sure. I think Du Plessis is really awkward. I think that he's got maybe like Sean Strickland came in and had a good performance against him, so maybe Du Plessis like his awkwardness gets to him, but I think Izzy wins that fight.
Okay, fantastic. So on the main event we have Easy winning. How about the co-main event? We have Kai Kara France versus Steve Essig.
Um, I don't think Kai Kara France is gonna win. I think he'll get I think he'll probably get put away in like the third.
Oh wow. But then yeah, this is where we disagree. I am rolling with Kai Kara France. I think he's
Yeah,
got intense pressure, and his power is real. He's fought Brandon Moreno. He's hung it with some of the best in the division, right? I was expecting him to fight Manuel Cap, but that fight did not happen,
yeah,
right? So I feel like Steve Ezeki is actually a smaller flyweight than Kai Kara France, so the size advantage will come in, and they're riding the high of Easy being on the same card with them. So the
yeah.
momentum is good of the high. So I think Kai Kara France takes this one. How about Dan Hooker versus Marcus Gambert?
Uh, I think Dan Hooker's in trouble. I think this might be his last fight. Hopefully.
Oh, why?
I don't want to.
Again.
But listen, I respect Dan so much and everything he's done. I respect him so much, but I think there comes a point where you have to like he's either he's got to fight not tough guys, or he's got to like really show out this fight. I don't know. I don't see him winning the fight though. I think he's in trouble, but I do like Dan a lot. I love his fights in the past, and he's just such a tough dude. But I think he's in trouble with this one.
But then, I think we are bringing in some recency bias, right, into this one because of his last couple of, fights, which were
Probably.
losses. And of course, the way
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev, put him away. But you guys should always remember that Islam Makhachev is, elite level. It's Khabib level, right? So you
Yeah.
shouldn't judge, Dan Hooker for, losing to the best of the best, right? So for me,
Yeah.
like I'm rolling with that Hooker, right? He can get it done against Gambert. Gambert is, I think I think he's probably older, but I think they are riding on this high, this momentum, and mind you, Dan Hooker has got good takedown defense as well. So I don't
Yeah.
think Gambert is that high level uh,
Yeah.
as the Islam Makhachev, kind of grappling style. So Dan Hooker can, squeeze the winner. It's big. It's big on the money line. If you bet $100 on that, you're getting $350. That is a
Yeah.
lot. Then
Yeah.
Tai Tuivasa versus Jazino Rosenstruik.
Oh man, Ty's
It's a
always
tough
got
one.
that
It's
one
a tough
shot.
pick.
That's a really tough fight. I'm gonna go with Ty just because I like him, but I think that
Yeah,
that's a tough
we
fight,
want to
man.
see a
I think,
shoey. We want to see a shoey.
bro. I think he wins that fight, but it's gonna be a tough fight.
Yeah, I think he wins it as well. I have it here, a win for Tai Tuivasa. And of course, the last fight in the main card is Carlos Prates versus Li Xinglian.
I don't know enough about that fight to really make a good prediction on it, man.
Yeah, make a good pick.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know enough about it to really call it out, but um, yeah, I don't know.
So for me, I'm rolling with Carlos Prates. So like I've
Yeah,
got my predictions here. I'll remind you after the fight. I've got predictions here. Israel Adesanya in the main event, Kai Kara France, full main event, Dan Hooker, Tai Tuivasa, and Carlos Prates. These are the
yeah,
guys that I have in these fights. I think we agree on some and we disagree on some. And
a little bit. Yeah,
may
that's
the
all right.
best man. So going back to you, right? Your training regimen. Like, what does your typical training day look like? And like, how do you balance various aspects of MMA, the striking, the grappling, the conditioning, the wrestling? How do you combine
Yeah,
all
it's not easy. It's hard to get it all in, but you have to like you got to train Monday through Friday. I'm doing 2 days, so it doesn't get easy for sure. But I'm doing jujitsu like 4 days a week, and I'm doing uh like gi jujitsu 2 days a week, and then I'm doing wrestling 3 to 4 days a week, striking 3 to 4 days a week, and kind of I'm doing 2-a-days a lot of times, so that helps a lot. Getting two workouts in a day helps me a lot. With everything. So, it's not easy for sure. It's hard to get it all in, but yeah, it's super important.
Oh, wow. Forgive me for not giving you your roses, right? Just shortly before you're about to answer that question, I was going to tell you something. For me, from what I have observed from your fights, right, I want to commend the high level of technicality of your grappling. But then I think you just gave yourself away right now, telling me how much you invest in jiu-jitsu. I was looking at your profile and I see you're a jiu-jitsu brown belt. I'm like, nah, no. Is this guy not a black belt? Like the way you grapple, you know, is with the fight IQ jiu-jitsu black belt, Charles Oliveira level kind of, IQ. Like how do you manage to pull that out?
I've never did a lot of gi jiu-jitsu, so I was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu for 12 years, and so like I probably could have been a black belt by now, and I know a lot of guys that I train with, they were getting their black belts as I had my purple belt because I just never went
Oh
to
wow.
gi class, and so I just never put a lot of focus on it, but I've been doing jiu-jitsu since 2005. And I've been very active with jiu-jitsu ever since 2005, and then really I've been doing it daily since probably 2007. So
Wow.
I'm
You're
a
a
big
professor of
jiu-jitsu guy.
jiu-jitsu.
I love it, but I didn't do that. I didn't do the belting the right way, I guess.
Oh, I see. I see.
So
Because
basically, I went to my first gym. They gave me a blue belt like 3 weeks in. And I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever, And I got my belt, and I did a competition as a white belt. They made me compete as a purple belt because of my wrestling. And then after that, my professor gave me my blue belt, and then I went and did another competition, and I won it. It was in Naga, which is just a small promotion. And then I did that one, and he tried to give me my purple belt, and so I took it. And then maybe a month or two later, I had a fight and I had a really nice rear naked choke. And the guy tried to give me my brown belt, and I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't want it. Like, it's weird. Like, I kept getting belt. Like, I would get a belt every 3 or 4 weeks. And so I was like, I'm good. And I just never took another belt until I started really liking my professor here in Dallas. So
oh wow, wow. I said it like no, there's no way with what I see you pulling out in the octagon that you would be a brown belt. You show me black belt, level of fight IQ. And it's
yeah,
quite interesting that even in fights that you're losing, right? You your grappling transitions, make you a live dog in that fight. Make you, highly, highly dangerous. I see the submission attempts that you pull. And this very last fight, was it last week? You fought I don't know how to pronounce his name, Miss
Chepe, Chepe
okay,
Mariscal.
yeah, Mascarell, right? Chip Mascarell, right? You had multiple submission attempts, and that's crazy. Like what a jiu-jitsu guy can pull off even being on their back, right? And of course, I think you like two chokes. You like the guillotine choke, and like the rear naked choke. It seems like the rear naked is your favorite because you have a good number of submissions by rear naked choke. Talk to us about these chokes, and your grappling basically.
Yeah, so like my grappling, I started wrestling, and then I learned jiu-jitsu from 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, which is like a no-gi school, like where they do a lot of no-gi stuff, and that's where I started learning jiu-jitsu. And my favorite submission is actually a head and arm choke, so that's like one of my
Wow.
favorite ones. And then a rear naked choke, obviously, it's always there when you get their back, but my favorite submissions are head and arm choke, and that's like one of the first ones I learned.
Oh, wow. But then on your record, I think the one you have the most in the UFC is, the rear naked. Is it,
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
sort of easier to
It's easy when you get to
to make
someone's
it
back.
happen?
Yeah, when you get to their back, it's a lot easier to get finishes with the renegade than it is to be on top and get to that head and arm choke position. So yeah.
Oh, wow, interesting. So how do you prepare mentally, and physically during a fight camp? What's your typical fight camp like? And what are the unique aspects of the preparation process like?
I mean, you got to get it in with your technique and you got to have your game plan. I'd say initially you have your game plan, and then you can kind of gauge your, like, whatever your game plan is, you can kind of gauge on what your training level should be and like where you should be doing, put more focus in on. So I always do kickboxing, 3 or 4 days a week, and then I'm doing grappling like 5 to 6 days a week, like either jiu-jitsu or wrestling. And, I think that kind of combo is great. And then lifting weights. I only get to lift 2 days a week. I can't really lift a lot because I gain a lot of weight. So um, that's kind of like my normal training week is, I'm doing 2 days, 5 days a week, and then I'm doing my technique like daily. I'm doing something for technique. It's not an easy lifestyle for sure. So you gotta stay busy.
Oh, wow, interesting. So, like, are you one of those guys who like goes away, travels to their camp, or you do it with your gym?
No, I do it all here in Dallas. I think that if you do that, kind of like you can get in your own head about like being ready or not being ready or pushing it too hard or like there's a lot of options there. You can, overdo it with your camp. So I like to personally stay here where I know everybody and I can keep working the same and keep my schedule pretty close to the same.
Okay. So, weight cutting is a very intense part of the sport, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you do it? How do you manage it? And what are the challenges that you face in this, area? Because it's a very, I think it's even more intense than the fight itself. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people are
Yeah.
weight bullies in the UFC. You
Yeah. I
guys
mean,
cut
you
a lot.
like I weigh like 175 and I fight at 145. So it's just a lot of weight
Oh,
and yeah, it's not easy to make, man. It kills me every time. So like when I got these guys missing weight, they're missing that last 5 pounds of their weight cut. That's like the hardest weight to lose. So when you got guys doing that, it's kind of like, it makes you want to do something different. So I'm actually going up to, I'm going to move up to lightweight from here on out and
oh,
I'll be fighting at
interesting.
lightweight because I can't handle that cut. That weight cut's too much now. So, I'm actually going to go up a weight class.
Okay, I think that's a good choice. 155, because you fight more comfortably closer to your walk around weight, and I feel like the weight cut makes people weak. Your
Yeah.
power is not here. You're not able to fight to the best of your
Yeah.
ability because you've had to suffer a lot. And how about the
Yeah.
nutrition, the diet and nutrition? Like, do you guys have any dietitian that helps?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys they have to, use a dietitian because a lot of these guys have never been athletes before this, and they never cut weight before this. So, for me personally, I started off with wrestling, which is like one of the hardest sports with most discipline as far as like your weight management goes and stuff. So, I've
Okay,
always been pretty prepared for the fights, like weight cut wise. But
okay,
it gets harder and harder every time. So I'd say 3 of my last 6 fights I've had like okay performances or bad performances. So now I'm gonna switch it up and add in some more weight, more muscle, and hopefully I don't have to cut as much weight, and that way I can just be a little bit more healthy.
okay. So, in terms of strategy, you mentioned that strategy is usually the first thing you guys work on. So, how do you develop the strategy with your team, right, for each opponent? And if you're able to share like an example of a strategy that you've
Yeah,
created and
like
does the game plan
me and my
works?
coach, like when I first get the fight, we'll go watch like 3 or 4 videos, and usually what we pick up on in those 3 or 4 videos is good enough to run my camp off of. But I'm looking for entries for takedowns. I'm looking for uh, people like overcommitting on their punches to takedowns, and then as far as like conditioning goes, I want to make sure that I can wrestle like 5, 6 5-minute rounds, which is really hard to do, and then spar afterwards. So it's like it's a lot, but definitely, everything plays a factor.
Oh, interesting. So for some fight camps, right? If you have a fighter, let's say you're fighting Charles Oliveira in the lightweight division, right? What he's known for is his high level jiu-jitsu. So sometimes some people bring in a guy that can replicate that style. Do you guys do things like that?
Yeah, for sure. You try to be a good partner, and if you're a southpaw, like left-handed person, then you're not trying to like catch them with a lot of right hands. You're trying to like switch it up and make it work for them. So as long as you're a good teammate, it's pretty easy to do.
Okay, okay. So like how do you handle the setbacks, whenever you have these losses, because life is about wins and losses. We learn from the losses, right? And we also celebrate and learn from the wins as well. But it's quite some adversity. Nobody likes to lose, right? But you have to be a sportsman, right? So how do you handle the adversity and handle the setbacks and losses, and what motivates you to come back stronger?
It's just a lot to prove to yourself. So you got to make sure that you're not lying to yourself and make sure that you're like capable of doing what you want to do. Because a lot of people think they are and they're not ready. And then that's when it gets discouraging. So as long as you know where you're at mentally and where your body's at physically, like you should have no problem being able to like just kind of relax in your own time, like your own free head. Like you should be able to just kind of like be chill. So I go to sleep every night. When I lay down, I'm out for the night. So I sleep good, and I know that things are going in my direction now. Once I start, getting things, once I start training again, I'll be good to go.
That's great. That's great. Speaking of the cheaper fight, right? Like that is your last fight at featherweight, right? So you're moving up to lightweight. Uh,
Yeah,
I see you have even heard of people like Ilya Topuria, the current champion at featherweight, and
yeah,
going up to lightweight.
yeah.
Like who do you think you would like, as an opener to the division? What names would
Um,
you consider?
I really haven't watched the division enough to like call someone out, but there's definitely guys there that are like that are willing to fight, on a couple days notice. So I know that the featherweight and lightweight division are like the two most packed divisions in the UFC. So they have the most guys there, and I won't have a problem with getting a matchup. Like as soon as I'm ready to go, like I'll tell the UFC I'm ready, and they'll give me a fight.
Okay, great. Looking at the top 15 in that division, it's headed by Islam Makhachev, who is the current champion. But who do you think is, worthy of getting that title shot? A lot of people are talking about Aman Sarukian, right? And yeah, there's been the recent chit chat about Conor McGregor, you know, out of the fight with Michael Chandler, and some people say the UFC might want to compensate Michael Chandler with a title shot against Islam Makhachev. But in your opinion, like who in the top five, top seven, do you think deserves, the next title shot against Islam?
Armand definitely is right there. I think he's definitely earned it. You know, I think him fighting one more fight's not a bad idea either, because I think that if not, he's gonna sit on the shelf for that much longer, and he's gonna lose a lot of that hype. So, I think he's definitely a tough dude, and he deserves a shot for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's like time. You got to make sure you're ready to go when you're in that position. When you're the champion, you got to make sure you're 100% ready because everybody's coming after you. So if they push the fight back again, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think that it's just like I think Armand's definitely one of the guys. So
Okay, interesting. So let's assume some hypothetical matchup: you versus Islam Makhachev. How do you see that going?
you say me versus him?
Yes, because you're moving up to
I would have to.
lightweight now.
I would give him my leg and hopefully he took it and then I would try to choke him. That would be my game plan with him. To give him my single leg, go for a guillotine.
Interesting. So, run it down. Let me think about names in the top five. Okay, if you look at
Yeah.
someone like Aman Sarukian, what do you do against Sarukian? I think he should be the
Oh
number
man.
one contender right now.
I would blitz him, go straight at him as hard as I could because that dude he's a smart fighter for sure.
He's smart and he's strong.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes that guy scary. Is is very, very strong.
Yeah.
So I think the next person on my mind is Charles Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira, he pulls a lot of the guard stuff, but I think you got to be really careful about going in on him. I think that um, he's a threat everywhere for sure, but I think that him going to his back, passing his guard and going ground and pound, but you don't want to stay in his guard for sure.
Definitely, you don't want to be there because he could be good night anytime. Number three in that division is Justin Gaethje,
Yeah.
explosive guy, the human highlights.
Yeah, he's a brawler, kind of wild. I think you should definitely throw a spinning heel kick because that landed on him against Max Holloway, landed that like 8 for 8, like he landed that flush 8 times or something. It was crazy.
Yes, that's
I
right.
don't think he missed. I don't think he missed once. I watched that fight a lot. I kind of been watching a lot of Max's stuff lately, but I watched that fight with Justin, and I watched the what's his name? Golly. I've watched a lot of his fights lately.
Max
Um,
Holloway.
yeah,
Is it the ones against Volkanovski? The
Calvin
one
Cater.
against
It was Calvin Cater.
Calvin Cater?
Yeah,
Oh wow,
yeah.
he's cooled Calvin Cater. It was an
Oh
awesome
man, that was
clinic.
bad. Yeah,
That fight was, I think it was 50-45 across board, even 50-44, 50-43 on some cards. Like he just dominated the striking all through.
yeah.
Number four is Dustin Poirier. What do you do against Poirier?
Um, I would give him my neck so he would pull his guillotine, and then once I got him on his back, I would pass his guard and ground and pound again. Probably ground and pound to a rear naked choke. He tapped pretty fast, so I think a rear naked choke would be the way to go.
Okay, Red Naked Choke is the way to go against Dustin
Yeah.
Poirier. I think number five is Mateusz Gamrot. I'm kind of scared of that guy. But anyways, number five, Mateusz Gamrot. And of course, he fights
Um.
tomorrow.
Yeah. He's fighting. Uh.
He's
His.
fighting Dan
Uh.
Hooker.
Yeah, Dan Hooker. Yeah. Um. Man, I don't know. That's a tough fight too. I think I would have to. I would have to be shooting in on him, like pressing that wrestling on him and try to gas him out. But he's got great cardio too. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough fight. I would definitely be looking to take him down though.
A tough one, and of course his grappling is also solid as well. Michael Chandler, number six. Michael Iron Chandler.
Um,
Another
I would
explosive
just
guy.
tell him. I would just tell him he's never gonna be like Conor McGregor, and I would start insulting him, and then I would get him mad to where he would throw something big. He would throw something big at me, and I would just take him down, and then I would make him tap. He,
Wow.
he's a,
I
he's
think
he's a head
he's
case.
Mr.
I
Beatable.
think yeah, I think he's just like he just commits too big, man. And these high level dudes are tagging him, and he's exciting for sure, but I think he's a little crazy.
Who was it who was telling him Amar Saruki, and he was like, you could have lost four exciting fights instead of waiting for Conor McGregor. Like,
Yeah, no
do you agree with Saruki? And I feel that was
that's.
cheeky.
I mean, I don't see anybody in the top 10 that he could just destroy. You know, I think everybody in the top 10, he's going to have a hard fight with. So him waiting on McGregor is probably a smart move because if he fights McGregor, that's like basically 3 or 4 fights worth of like finances. So it's like financially, it's smart for him to wait. Because if he loses to
Exactly.
someone else, he'll never touch McGregor.
I am telling you. Number seven, Benil Dariush,
That dude's
another
tough
solid
as hell,
guy.
man. I respect Benil. Um, yeah, he's a tough dude. I mean, I'd have to piece him up. I'd have to like Nate Diaz boxing, like hit him and do all the dancing, moving, because he's a tough dude on the ground.
You just talked about boxing, and number eight is Rafael Fiziev. That dude is a great boxer. So
Oh,
how
yeah.
do we approach the boxer?
I would punch him and go for a takedown because that dude, he's got scary power.
Did you see his fight against Bobby Green?
Maybe I can't remember it. I don't remember what happened, but
It was a boxing clinic, but
yeah,
he came out tops in that one. And of course, number 9, your boy Max Holloway. He's now
yeah.
in the mix.
Max Holloway. Shit, I'd be full sprint, try to land a flying knee, and then hopefully he ducks his head into that. I don't know, but that's a tough fight. I think Ilya's in trouble. I think he beats Ilya.
I'm rooting for him as well against Ilya. But
I'm definitely rooting for him, and I think he can do it. But I'm not gonna be surprised if Ilya, catches him too, because that dude, he's got some power.
yeah, Ilya's got power, but Max is not Volkanovski, right? Max
Yeah,
is a better striker, so I think
yeah.
we're going to say Max. We're going to say Max Clinic here. But speaking of Max, I think it's actually not really fair having him ranked as number 9 when he beats Gaethje, who was number 2 or number
I
3 at the
know.
time.
It,
Like,
you
I don't
know,
understand
it,
the
it
rationale
doesn't make
behind the
any
ranking
sense. It
sometimes.
doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. But it is what it is.
Mm. Number 10, Renato Moicano. Renato Money Moicano. That guy is a mouthful.
Yeah, he's
But he
he's
can
funny
fight.
as hell. I actually like his channel. Like I watch his Instagram a lot. Him and his
And of
the
course, his
betting group.
podcast as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
The Money Show.
podcast, The Money Show, Money Mukano. Yeah, he's a funny
Yeah.
dude. But shit, man, I'd have to like lay him shoot in on my leg, and then I'd snatch up a guillotine. But that dude's tough. He's tough as hell. It'd be a tough fight.
Okay, number 11, Dan Hooker.
I would hit him and take him down. Yeah, all day. Like he's just you don't know if you're gonna get the old Dan or the new Dan. So hopefully the old Dan doesn't come out and it's the
Yeah.
new Dan. I could just take him down and sub him.
Because
But
the old
that
Dan
dude,
was,
oh man,
vicious. I remember his
that's
fight
like
with
him.
Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, yeah,
That
it was a
fight
good
was,
fight.
I think the second round was the round of the year or something.
Yeah,
It was massive. John Andy was
yeah,
like, you, this is the best round you've ever seen. You are, except if you're not a fan of striking, except if you're not a fan of beautiful striking. I think
yeah.
that's, something along those lines.
Oh man, I don't
I was
know. That's a tough
scared. I
fight
was
too.
scared when he was
I'd
fighting
say
Poirier.
I would have to test my grappling on that one. I'd have to go in and go forward, man. So like, my last fight, I had like such a shitty performance because like my body just froze up, man. My body just tanked. I couldn't like. I had such a great camp. Like my weight was on point. My cardio was insane. My rounds were like the best they ever did against really tough guys, and then my weight cut was good. I recovered pretty good, and my body just freaking tanked. So like it's frustrating to like have such a great camp and then for things to go south like that. And then he missed weight and he was heavy, but he felt pretty strong. But it was just like it was so frustrating because I've been working on my wrestling so much and I just never got to pull it out this fight, and I just don't know what happened to my body. So that's why I asked to move up to lightweight because I'm like I think I'm cutting like 25 pounds to make featherweight, and that's a lot of weight for my frame. So
Interesting. I think that's one of the reasons why I emphasized on the weight cutting question that I asked you, right? Because I did watch your fight with Chepe Mariscal, right? And I had by the way, I had my money on you, right? So
yeah.
me having my money on you, right? And you're watching the fight, and then you're like, move. But then
Oh, dude.
in the second and third round, in my head, I felt like, oh, this body is tanking. I felt it like this, when you're tired or you're still applying your technique. In my head, I was like, if only he had pushed harder, he could have got to finish. But your grappling was so technical that even when it felt like the cardio was failing you, right? You were still able to maneuver and get out of dangerous situations. Big ups to you. Big ups to you.
Yeah.
So number. Okay, you want to say something about it?
No, it's frustrating performance. You know, I'm ready to get past it.
Yeah,
I'm ready
it is
to.
frustrating, you know.
Yeah, it was crazy because I did everything so I was so good this whole camp. Like I didn't mess up anywhere and I was just ready to go and I had a lot of confidence and I know there's a lot of people that were betting on me because I was the underdog and it was so frustrating to lose because
Make good money.
I felt like I was just better all around, you know, and to go out there and have that performance is like it's horrible. It sucks.
Mm, yeah. Okay, so let's hope for better performances in the lightweight division, and of course, lightweight division number 13 is Rafael dos Anjos. I think that is the old guard. You know, I feel like he's on his way out.
Yeah. I mean, this whole freaking sport's crazy how much has changed, but he's definitely like him in his prime, he's a scary ass dude. So,
Scary,
um,
scary.
yeah.
He was a
So
champion.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's tough champion too. Um, yeah, it's a tough fight. I don't know. I had to maybe scrap it out with him for a minute and then try to get to his back on the feet because I mean him on the ground he's a nightmare everywhere. But him on the ground he's tough.
Brazilian, Brazilian with the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Number 14, Jalen Turner, Jalen the Tarantula.
Shit,
That guy is tall for the division.
I would shoot in on his leg. I would take him down. I'd put him in a banana split.
That guy is tall for the division. And of
So
course, at
tall.
number number 15 is Paddy Pimblett.
Patty. Patty the Batty.
Paddy the
Hey,
Baddy. Yeah.
he beat Bobby, which is a really impressive win to me, and he did it in a very impressive way. So he's got my respect. You know, for a while I didn't like him. I was like kind of annoyed when they talked about him. I'm like, well, this guy's not that good, you know, whatever. And you know, but the fact that he beat Bobby the way he did, he's a tough dude. I
Yeah,
would
and of course, he
definitely
beats
stay on the
legend
feet.
Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, I would definitely have to, you know, keep it on the feet because, I mean, the Tony Ferguson win's not near as impressive as the Bobby win, but Tony
Yeah.
in his prime would have been a crazy win. But Tony now is just, you know, hopefully he has some close family and friends that can tell him to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's clear you're way past your prime. Sometimes you need to just acknowledge that the sport has passed you. You know, you have
Yep.
all of the technique in your head, but then the body cannot execute it after like a particular age. How old is it now? I think it's close to 40 now. It's probably like
Yeah, I'm not sure.
38,
I,
about.
I don't know how old he is. No, he's older than that. I think he's like 40 or 41. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're past your prime, bro. Go do something else.
Yeah.
Maybe you should go into commentary or something. Analysis, you
No,
know.
not commentary. Maybe a referee. That's what he should do. Because
Why?
it, him commentating would be so annoying. It'd be so
Oh,
annoying.
so
Yeah.
among the current, crop of commentators, that were ex-fighters, who do you think is the most annoying amongst them? You know, some people are usually angry with DC and Michael Bisping.
DC, no, DC, he's funny. He's a funny dude, man. I like when he's a commentator. I like when Bisbing's on there too, kinda, but not as much. But yeah, I'd say like Bisbing's got to work on his stuff, but I think when the fighters they get on there, they don't educate their self on the actual fighters they're talking about because a lot of fighters don't watch fights, so a lot of the fighter commentators don't really watch the fights. They don't know these guys that well, and so you know you have a handful of like John Anik, he knows everybody, he knows everybody's style, he knows where they're
John Anik
from,
is
he know
hands-on.
he knows their middle name, like he knows everything about you. And so he's like one of the best guys, but he also didn't have any skin in the game. So it's like you know, usually the best commentators are the ones that never did it, and the people that did it are horrible at what they're doing. But yeah, I think honestly, like there's not really any fighters that are just like so good at it. But DC is kind of funny. He cracks jokes a lot, but I think one of the better ones, but he's kind of annoying sometimes when he does it. But Dominic Cruz, he knows his shit. Like
Dominic
he
Cruz, he
knows
does his
his
research
stuff.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So how about Joe Rogan? Because for me, I love Joe Rogan a lot.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's good. I think he's kind of like, I think everybody's kind of past having him on every time because John Anik does such a good job, and like some of those other guys like do such a good job that, Joe Rogan's just he's kind of like the face of the UFC for commentators. I feel like, um, he doesn't work as many like he doesn't work as many events anymore, so people have kind of like gotten past him a little bit. But overall, like he's pretty good most of the time. But I think he's been slipping up lately, and he's not near as engaged as he used to be.
Okay, so how about people like Anthony Smith?
Anthony Smith's good. I think Anthony Smith's pretty good. I think that he kind of uses it as a time to vent. He vents a lot when he's on there about his own shit. So I think you got to keep that stuff to yourself. But like besides that, he's pretty good at his shit.
Then I think you want my name Dean Thomas with the
Dean
expert
Thomas is
analysis. Yeah,
funny.
Coach
He's
Dean
funny,
Thomas.
bro. Every time they're like, "Let's pass it over to Dean," and he always comes in and says something funny. So I'm a big fan of Dean. So I think he's very funny, and I like hearing his shit.
Okay, but then I think the ladies are also doing quite a fantastic job. Uh,
Yeah,
the
yeah. Lauren
I'm trying to
and
recollect.
yeah, Lawrence Sanko, and then
Yeah, Lauren Sanko. Yeah,
yeah, and
and
then
then
yeah. There's like one or two girls that do it, but I'd say she's the only commentator really, I think.
yeah, Lauren Sanko. Like you feel that deep and insightful research that she's done. Into the fighters, and
I
she's
mean,
very well educated.
me and her fought on the same card a long time ago.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
back in the day. Yeah, back up in Kansas City, we fought on the same card. She's tough, man. She's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, and tough and beautiful. So,
Yeah.
it in terms of the whole mindset of fighting. Fighting is associated with tough guys, the toughness, but then it's highly demanding, right? And it's a high pressure sport. But then, like, how do you keep yourself? How do you keep that mental game going?
Um, like I've always been like pretty self-motivated with everything. So like I think you gotta have motivation somewhere. Either it's being a champion, or if it's just competing, or if it's for the money, or whatever it is. You gotta have some motivation. So I think that the reason why I've stayed motivated for so long is just because I enjoy competing so much, and I feel like this is like the ultimate competition, and this is like the ultimate way to like test yourself. So I just enjoy the competition so much, and that's my biggest motivation.
You talk about motivation. I once, heard somewhere that, where motivation is lacking, a discipline, comes true for you, right? So, like, how do you cope, with the pressure of being in the sport?
Just you gotta evolve. So if you don't really love the sport, you're not gonna evolve as much, and if you don't evolve, you're gonna get pushed out so quick. And so I think that that's really important, is to still be a good student. Even if you have a big career, being a student is really important, and I think that also keeps you like hungry and loving the sport, and has that comes with a lot of pros if you like really enjoy what you do. So it's hard to keep that going, but if you can find a way to like keep that motivation up through competing and through just being better at what you do, then I think that goes a long ways.
Okay, so you're talking about that motivation of keep being in the sport, right? We can talk about someone like Conor McGregor. You know, Dana White says that he's made a shit ton of money, and he thinks he's lost the motivation for the sport. Do you share that same sentiment?
I think he definitely like I own my own gym, and I think that when you start going in different directions away from fighting, like because like when you're a fighter and you're also a fighter because you have to have the money from fighting, and you have to have the fame from fighting, and you have to have like different things coming from it. You're very hungry, but then when you have different avenues to make your money and to make a name for yourself, and to like to get to get that same boost of adrenaline some other way, you kind of lose motivation to do this because it takes a lot of focus. You kind of have to be all in when you do this sport. You have to be fully engaged in this sport to really be motivated to like fight these tough fights. And I think that you can lie to yourself and you can lie to the people and say that, but at the end of the day, if you're not truly motivated, you're not going to do it very long because it's a tough sport, and especially him in his position where he's made the money, and so now he doesn't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to work before he trains, and then he trains a little bit, and he has to go back to work, and that's what I'm doing. It's like for me, I could do this until I die. Like I love every bit of it, and for someone like him that he made his money, he did his thing, and it would almost be more respectful of him just to kind of be done and maybe going to commentating or going to something else. But I think he still wants to keep that there, but I don't think he has the same fighting spirit like he used to because he doesn't have to.
Exactly, and he loves to stay relevant within the sport. And recently, he's invested in the BKFC. You know, invested $200 million into the BKFC. I've had quite a
Yeah.
number of people from the BKFC on this podcast. The president David Feldman, and some of the fighters there have been on this podcast. So speaking with them, they're happy, about his involvement in the BKFC. But I don't know. Do you think he should just stick to business and pull out of fights and big team?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, if you're gonna be all in on business, it's hard to go and be back all in on fighting. Like for me, like I opened my gym last year, so I've had my gym open for a year, and I lost to Dan Inge, and then I opened my gym, and for like 6 or 7 months, I couldn't do anything but my gym. I had to focus only on that, and so I think that now that I have everything kind of rolling and running good, I can do both pretty easy now. I can have my gym, I can run it, and I can also be training full time and things like that. So I think it kind of goes back to the motivation thing. Like if you're motivated, you could go all in and be the guy that owns BKFC and still fight and have your liquor deal. But it's a lot. He's doing a lot though. He's doing a lot of big things. So not
Yeah, a
just
lot of
fighting.
big
He's
things.
doing a lot of big things. So I give him respect for sure, like mad respect, because what he's doing is crazy. Because a lot of fighters think they want to do all these things and they want to like have their own gym, they want to have their own brand and things like that, but they don't understand how much work goes into owning a business and running a successful business. It's not easy.
A lot of work that was going to running a successful business. You're right about that.
Yeah.
And of course, achieving that work life balance. What's like the family support system like for you?
Um, like my family's been with me since like obviously like from the beginning of when I first started this in the seventh grade. I told my parents what I wanted to do, and then when I started doing it, then they're like, "Oh, he's serious." So like they've been behind me since day one, and like my mom was at my last fight. My dad goes to every fight, almost every fight. I just have I have a really good support system. My family's very supportive of everything I do because I think it's because of how much passion I have for it. I think if you have someone that has a lot of passion like that and they're producing outside of that too, like I'm producing with my business and my family and my kids and things like that. Like if I'm producing in that way, then people support that. But if I were to lack my family time or lack my my business or lack my finances, then I think you lose a lot of respect from people that you love. But as long as you're doing this sport safely, I think that people respect the fact that you're doing everything you do to like make it happen because it's not easy to get this to make. It's not easy to get to the UFC and to win in the UFC and to stay in the UFC. It's not easy. So I think you're gonna earn people's respect for sure. But as long as you keep moving forward.
Exactly, exactly. And of course, I'm sure your family are proud of you. I, for one, I'm proud of you, for the body of work you've been able to put in, in the sport and, maintain. both being an athlete and being a businessman. It's not easy combining these things as an individual. But for you, like, what would you say are your goals for the future?
I want to have my gym going for sure. I want to own my own building for my gym. That's something I'm looking at doing this year. I wanted to get one more fight in this year, and then I want to change the facility that I'm in. I want to have my own building, so that's what I'm looking to do before the year's up. And then however many fights I have left, I don't know, but I'm gonna keep fighting as long as I'm healthy and happy doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I can. And that's my main goal right now is to get my own building. So that's what's next for me.
Okay, okay, interesting. I think it's been really, really nice having you on today. Uh, at the end of the pod, I usually have a tradition like the previous guest, leaves a question for the next guest, and I think I would ask you, a question from one of the guys from the BKFC. It's a very simple question. He says, "What is your dream car?"
My dream car is it's kind of boring. It's just a Cadillac CTS.
Cadillac CTS. Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow, you
So
like
I
big
think that's what
cars.
I think I'm actually gonna. I think I'm gonna actually get one. My daughter is about to turn 16, so she's 15 now, and she's about to turn 16. So I think I'm gonna give her my truck and get a Cadillac CTS. So it's kind of like I've been wanting that car forever. So
Wow, Cadillac. There you go. For me, it's a Mercedes. The G wagon.
yeah,
I love the G wagon. Okay, so
yeah.
for you, before you drop a question for the next guest, I would like for you to give advice to young people, you know, in general, and young athletes, up and coming athletes as well.
Yeah, I'd say just man, stay off Instagram, stay off Twitter, stay off all of it. Like don't look on Instagram and stuff for your motivation. Like you gotta figure out what your goal is, like whatever it is, you gotta figure out what your goal is and make sure that you're like that you can like take a step back and like figure out the best path to get there and just stick with it. Cause I see a lot of people they get on Instagram, like they're going to say, I want to be a state champion wrestler. And then they look on Instagram and they see the next step is a national champion. And then they're like, oh, I actually want to be a national champion. And then they forgot all about the state champion. So they're trying to like they're trying to skip levels and get to a different level and they're not ready for it yet. So I think that finding a goal and figuring out a game plan and sticking to that game plan is your best bet on whatever you're doing. Business, for business or being an athlete or whatever. It's like that's your best bet is to get a game plan with a goal at the end and stick to it.
Okay, great advice from a big brother, Damon Action Jackson, rather. What question would you leave for the next guest to answer? Anything,
Uh,
ask.
like what's the reason why you're doing what you're doing? Like it's
What?
like what's the reason why you're doing what you're doing? I think that's a big one. I think it's like the reason for me like chasing fighting is because it's like that thrill of competing. I love competing, so I feel like this is like the ultimate competition. But I'd say like what's the reason you're doing what you're doing, or going after
Wow.
it.
I think that question is quite a deep question. And of course, I'm happy I'm not the next guest. I'm the host to the next guest. So the next guest has got their work cut out for them. Before you leave, a very, very big thank you to you. For me, I appreciate people. And of course, I like to say an attitude of gratitude is good attitude. So thank you very much here for being here today. Would you love to give a shout out to anybody before you leave?
No, man, I really appreciate everybody's support. I have a huge fan group. Like if people that support me from my gym. So just my gym is Fortis MMA Lakeside, and I got huge following there. And just shout out to all those guys for all their support. And I just appreciate everybody's support on there. If you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, it's Damon B Jackson. And I try to always respond to people's questions or if they ask me anything. So it's something like I like talking to people on there. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody's support.